And a colleague of mine sees, my salad and I'm trying really hard not to do a right in front of my salad joke.
Why not?
So my salad, which was made up of beans, chickpeas, salad leaves, corn, and mozzarella. And tells me in a quite, condescending way.
But wouldn't it be good to have also some protein in your salad?
And I was like, well, whatever do you mean, Almost everything in this bowl has protein. There are also, worse issues than some dude not realizing that beans and chickpeas and mozzarella have proteins.
It's only meat and cum that have protein.
Absolutely, always.
Okay, so before we begin, should we reminisce about the fun we had yesterday when we discovered that our previous episode, the one with the political fan fiction, is quite successful on YouTube of all places.
Yeah, and I find it really funny because it was like a totally silly episode with no point, no particular lesson.
No.
Just that we had fun. I mean, that was the only redeeming quality of the episode.
Self-indulgence.
Absolutely. And I was really curious, and I asked you, what were people searching for when?
Yeah, because most people came via YouTube searches.
Yes.
So.
And it was extremely funny to see that most people were looking for sex.
I mean, who would believe that? It's so surprising. But to be honest, I never imagined that YouTube would be the kind of platform where you just search for sex. Like nothing else, just keyword sex. Of all the places to look for that. Also, it's very broad. I mean,
sure.
If you just type in sex, how would you know? Are you assuming it's going to bring up the sex you want?
I do not know. And also, you type in sex, but then you do see the title of the videos, and it was...
And also, the thumbnail contains Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
Does that spell out sex to you? Are they like the embodiment of sex?
Was that what they were actually looking for?
Maybe they were like, well, I don't know really what I want, but I know that when I see it, and they saw it, and they were like,
yeah, that's it.
That hit the spot. So sorry, all the good people who came across this video and were disappointed because the drop-off rate is really high. So people were like, oh, I'm looking for sex. Oh, I guess I will click on this. And then, oh, this is not what I expected. Bye. And the lesson we took from this experience is that all the following episodes will have sex or sexiness in their title.
Yes, and we decided that this episode will be titled The Sexiness of Science.
We usually just sort of act like silly cows, talking shit about all sorts of stuff. But this episode is... I feel like it might be providing something marginally useful. At least that's how I'd like to delude myself. So we are gathered here today because you kept bringing up something that you noticed while talking with patients throughout your practice as a... Where are you again?
Where do I work? I work in a radiotherapy center.
But what do you do?
Oh, I take care of the oncological patients' nutritional needs. Basically cancer nutrition.
So you were saying you were a bit troubled by the inability of many of your patients to assess information that they've come across. All of us have Googled our diagnostic.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm guessing if it's a severe one, then, your anxiety will prompt you to look up info on that even more. And there is quite a fair amount of info out there, but plenty of it is not just medical fan fiction, shall we say, but it can actually damage the well-being of already quite vulnerable people. So what we will be concerned in this episode is not so much the average person's ability to science every day in the nerdiest way, to be able to submit their first study to the Lancet or whatever science magazine, clean, but rather to just make sure the home there does this pass the sniff test skills.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to describe what we're trying to do here?
I mean, no, I think you did that pretty well. After all, our general ability when it comes to healthcare, which is something we all need, even if some in more higher degrees than others, to realize when something is off, at least. Of course, most of the time we won't know exactly what. But to have that feeling that maybe I should just ask one more person at least.
I think it's useful to, even if you don't know and couldn't bring counter arguments to whatever is presented to you, to just have that sort of skepticism, that healthy skepticism.
Yes, that like, this sounds, if something is too easy, something just solves all your problems. If something is just, so obvious and there, and like everybody else is acting like actually there is no solution, or the solution is a lot more complicated. If something is extremely, extremely expensive when you already have something, with no money involved in the normal healthcare system, and somebody else asks you for a huge amount of money and say they will solve your issue in easier way, just be a little
If this is the secret all the doctors don't want you to know about.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of thing. So should I just actually discuss some examples of...
Go ahead.
Okay, so there are many examples that I can think of, and they can be attributed to very different ways of not understanding some ideas. First, we have the very simple ones, just simply not verifying basic facts that are actually easily verifiable. As an example, I had a patient who actually was a healthcare worker. So, she was actually, somewhat in the know, let's say. And she told me that she drinks a lot of beetroot juice to up her red blood cells and her iron level in her blood, So she had anemia. And I told her that, beetroot is not a good source of iron, and that the beetroot juice even less so. So there are other foods that she could eat that could be more beneficial for her goal. And she became quite upset, which was like really weird. And she told me that a friend of hers that is also a doctor told her that beetroot juice is a great source of iron. And now I am saying something else, and what is she even supposed to do?
You are undermining her friendship.
Yeah, and I told her, just, take into consideration what I told you, and when you get home, look up the information that does not have anything to do with someone trying to sell you on an idea. Just go and check, some botanical facts about beetroot. Don't look at articles that talk about beetroot and cancer, beetroot and magical healing, or whatever. Just, something about the plant in itself from the botanical perspective.
And maybe comparing the plant, that plant with other plants in terms of their...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she was not convinced, and actually she left my office quite upset. So,
like I said, you were undermining her friendship.
Yes, and
you were trying to weasel your way into that relationship.
So these problems start even from this very, let's say, easy level, where you could sort of manage to discern between two opinions quite easily. Then we have more complicated situations. One of the most common is the use of anecdotal evidence, This is mostly based on the fact that some people just, don't understand that it is very unlikely that you can come up with evidence when you use a sample size of one. And what do I mean by, sample size of one? There are several ways in which this manifests. For example, some people tell me, well, I took this supplement before and I felt better. And I'm okay, but were you also doing other things that could have been beneficial at the time? Was the problem one that tends to be, an auto-limited process by itself? Because, so many other things could have happened there. But a lot of people will just swear by that thing if they already decided on it.
Well, what is an auto-limited process exactly?
Well, let's say you've eaten something that was not very fresh, and actually what you'll have some bacteria in your food, and you will have a gastrointestinal bug, basically.
Okay.
That most likely will, your body will get rid of it in 1, 2, 3 days. So you will have some diarrhea, you will not feel so good, but it will go away by itself, even if you do the best of things, or even if you don't, Mm-hmm. Or you have some sort of respiratory virus that has by definition, we already know that it's that kind of virus that will, it will take from 3 to 5 days to go away. So you will have some respiratory symptoms and they will go away.
So it's the sort of thing that whether or not you follow a treatment of any kind, mm-hmm. your body can deal with it.
Yes.
Unaided, so to
yes,
speak.
Yes, exactly. We have this saying in Romania about, at least when it comes to this respiratory symptoms, we generally say that if you take some, drugs, medicines, the symptoms will probably clear in under a week, and if you don't, they will go away in 7 days. So basically that,
What about the people who think that, okay, if I take, I don't know, paracetamol, mm-hmm. and it helps for a specific problem, if I take 5 more, then it will go away 5 times sooner.
Yeah, I mean, one of the worst myths about paracetamol is the idea that you can take it preemptively. Mm-hmm. You don't have a fever, you don't have some sort of either inflammation or fever, and you just take paracetamol to not catch a cold. It has nothing to do with that. It's a symptomatic drug, and it will only work if you have the symptoms. Mm-hmm. And the problem with paracetamol is that it's quite liver toxic. So just taking some paracetamol will just fuck up your liver a little bit, and will not prevent the possible future development of any kind of symptoms. Let's say people that take homeopathic drugs. Mm-hmm. They start feeling not so good. 1 or 2 days, they realize, oh, okay, so I'm definitely coming down with something. Somewhere on day 3. Oh, I have to take something. And they do, and on day 4 or 5, the problem's clear. And they're like, look, mm-hmm. It worked.
Water works, hydration works.
Yeah, Or this problem could manifest in other ways. For example, somebody who had a good lifestyle, with a good diet, with exercise, not smoking, and yet they now have a disease, quite serious disease. Mm-hmm. And they feel like their good lifestyle was worthless, like it was all for nothing. And if I ask them, but how do you know that your current disease would not have manifested earlier were it not for your good lifestyle? Or how do you know that you would not have had some other diseases on top of this one without your good lifestyle? I mean, how do you know that it didn't help? Because people imagine that a good lifestyle means that you will have 0 health issues forever, which is obviously, an unreasonable thing to strive for.
Yes, but you do not understand the actual question or the actual frustration behind this reasoning, because they're thinking like, I went for a fucking run and gave up that last piece of delicious chocolate and still I got cancer. Like,
no, people are not generally not that they don't think that as the problem. What they think is that there was something extra that they could have done. There was this one extra thing. And if they only would have added that.
So they are sort of feeling guilt towards not doing enough?
They are feeling guilt, and they are also searching. They are searching and researching what that thing is, so they can add it so that the cancer can go away and they can be healthy forever after that. Because a lot of people think that you can prevent 100% of health issues. Mm-hmm. And this idea of probabilities, that you do the good thing and you will have a higher probability of having less problems. But that is not a guarantee. And this uncertainty is is destroying a lot of people, their ability to exist in every day.
Yeah, you did mention in another episode the fact that when you talk to people in your practice, many of them will point to the fact that, well, there's no history of, let's say, cancer in our family, so how come? And you have to explain to them, well, the history starts somewhere, unfortunately.
Obviously.
So, yeah, well, despite or irrespective of your lifestyle, sometimes it happens that, in the genetic lottery, you're on the losing side, so to speak.
Yeah, and generally when they say there is no cancer in my family, what they generally mean is my parents and my grandparents.
Yeah.
Because even if we get to grandparents, already people generally don't actually know why those people died. And even if they know what the family thought that was the cause of death at the time, most likely it's wrong.
Yeah.
So, Okay, so there are many concepts that are very useful that a lot of people in Romania are just not used to. Because to say in English that, correlation does not equal causation is almost, a joke, a meme, since like everybody knows this, and saying it is so well known. I dare say it feels like overused to just say this very obvious thing. But if you say it in Romania, a lot of people just look at you like, what are you talking about,
Even in other countries where, as you said, the saying is very popular or well known, even though people still make these mistakes.
Yes.
But at least the concept is familiar,
Yes.
whereas, you said in Romania, people are not even familiar many a time with the concept.
Yes, and I generally try to use this example because I think it illustrates very well what I'm trying to say, but people are not convinced because I tell them correlation does not equal causation, and I try to tell them that, look, if we're talking about, let's say, breast cancer, wearing skirts.
Where are we going with this?
Well, because a huge percent of the people that will get breast cancer also wear skirts of some point in their lives,
okay, I see.
So it's if you draw a correlation is a very close one. You will find something like 90+%. There is no causation there. There is no actual relation other than the correlation that is statistically very high. So I try to use this example because I think it's very descriptive. But people just go like, oh, sure, of course, it's obvious there. And they just don't grasp the concept in itself, the fact that just because you can tell me that 5 people that did that and after that happened, it's exactly like with the skirts. Like there is not in itself a way to prove causation. But
yeah, by the way, I'm team pants all the way. So.
Yeah, sure, but even you.
Yeah. So, but besides the unproductive and sometimes funny conversations between patients and doctors that arise from this, why should people care about science or information that poses as science? Like, how does this affect them, beyond the occasional beetroot overdose?
About beetroot overdose, I have met the first real-life patient that managed to overdose on carrots.
Really?
Yes.
And what did that look like?
Orange. No, I'm not joking.
Really?
Yeah, really. And I this is something you read about that it's told to you anecdotally in medical school. And I never saw something like that. I just thought it was like something funny but I saw my first patient that overdosed on carrots, on actual carrot juice. And they were orange.
Like their skin? Or anything else?
Their skin, the sclera, their eyes, like they were orange.
But was it like the sort of orange you get from those really bad tanning sprays, or was it
more like that. It was obviously not like somebody painted them with a color orange.
Yeah.
They started to get yellowishy orangey.
Oh God.
It was not the best of colors, let's say. And I was shocked. I was like, okay, so how did you manage to make yourself orange? and she told me that she read that the carotenoids from carrots are good to combat cancer, which is true. And she saw that like she needs a huge dose of that. And first she tried to eat the carrots, but she couldn't eat that huge amount
I mean,
of
it's a lot of work. Her jawline, though, would have been on point.
yes. And even like she tried to boil them and everything, and then it occurred to her that maybe she's destroying the nutrients by cooking.
Boiling.
And then she decided on juicing, and she
That also means a lot of sugar, right? That
yep.
she ingested.
Yeah, sure, of course. And she was drinking about 3 cups in the morning.
3 cups in the morning.
Yeah, 3 cups in the morning, 3 cups in the afternoon, and in the evening she had 2 cups of beetroot juice and 1 extra cup of carrot juice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of juice.
Yeah, a lot of juice. Yes.
So basically, most of her hydration needs were fulfilled via juices.
So yeah. So this, I have a feeling you said this thing about beetroot overdose as a joke. Okay, but moving on from the fact that if you try hard enough, you can overdose on anything. I think it's very important to be able to tell when something really is bullshit, like really has no bearing on your future health. And I think one of the most famous examples of somebody who couldn't tell, reality from bullshit was Steve Jobs, who, when he was first diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, insulinoma, he tried to cure himself with diet or some other natural remedies, and it took him a while to realize that he was on the wrong track. And I am sure that before he got sick, he would have advised other people to do this too, because he clearly believed it. I mean, he did it for himself, so he was a genuine believer.
The man was trying to disrupt the cancer industrial complex. You don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
you don't know what his intention was.
He genuinely believed it, because sometimes you see some of these famous people saying stuff, and you're like, yeah, okay, they're doing for the grift, they get some money, but like he was obviously honest. Obviously, it delayed his actual treatment.
Enough for him to die.
Well, no, the outcome would have been the same, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, he didn't, no. I had a patient who tried to only drink vegetable juice for 45 days to cure her cancer.
So no food?
No food. Just drinking vegetable juice. And she stopped after she lost 20 kilograms.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was obviously very detrimental, since she then had to start oncological treatment that is very, demanding on a person's body. And it will already have a huge impact on their body weight and general fitness.
And was this person sort of overweight, or what were they already?
No, they were normal weight person, and they became severely underweight. Yes. I think one of the preconceived ideas that is most difficult to shake is that all weight loss is good. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very hard to convince my patients, especially the ones that have been struggling with their weight for a long time, that during cancer treatment, is not the best time to lose weight.
Yeah, and you also told me that it's not just fat, basically, that you're shedding, but
of course,
a lot of muscle mass and things like that.
In the context of the disease, the presence of cancer, there is a bigger chance than normal for you to lose muscle mass when you lose weight. But it's so ingrained because sometimes when I hear dietitians from United States or Western Europe, they keep talking about diet culture, and sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes I'm like, you're overselling this point, but I realize that is the reason that people think that weight loss is good no matter what. It's important to realize that for every person who might be misinformed, there are so many grifters out there who are actually just after your money in the most horrible of ways.
Yeah.
And I think a very famous example is Belle Gibson, who lied about actually having cancer herself, and she made an app, and she sold that app for people with cancer, and she made a lot of money. She got a book deal. She was featured in high-profile magazines and on TV shows, and nobody verified anything about what she was saying, and she was just discovered because she took it too far.
What was her app about? What was it monitoring, or what was it offering?
It was
What
basically
doing?
just recipes, food recipes. It wasn't even, something very interesting or in any way revolutionary.
So it was in the vein of, I'll just diet away my cancer.
Yes,
I will
yes.
just eat away my cancer.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what about the other side of the equation? Patients are at risk in many ways if they are unable to distinguish bullshit or outright harmful information from the legit stuff, of course. But what's the situation among medical professionals in terms of their ability to communicate effectively or even sift through mountains of dubious data themselves?
Okay, so the truth is that, grifters are successful also because the legitimate medical professionals do not communicate very well.
Present person excluded.
Oh, who knows? I mean, the problem is that I think I am doing a somewhat okay job, but honestly, there is no way for me to verify myself. There isn't a place where I could go to have at least a course, a serious course about patient communication, and for somebody who is very good at that to tell me like, okay, maybe you're not doing this right. Like, so I think I'm doing good, but I think all the other people who do shit also think they're doing good.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So this happens for many reasons, and for one, most of hospitals and clinics and all that are severely understaffed, and I think this is true in a lot of countries. They don't have enough doctors, they don't have enough nurses. Also, there is not much emphasis put on communication in medical school, at least not in the Romanian medical school. We are taught a lot of facts in the most dry way, and we are given zero lessons in what are effective strategies in relaying those facts to patients. And how can you tell, also strategies to realize if what you said reached the patient in the way that you intended. And some doctors, have actually atrocious manners that are, and they are completely unaware about the actually terrible impact that they have on their patients.
Yeah. I actually know many people who outright told me that one of the reasons that they turned to all sorts of like alternative medicine or therapies was because they had some terrible experience with their doctor who was either completely callous during an emotionally charged moment, let's say during their treatment, or they were just dismissive, mostly from what I can understand from their recounting because of like ego stuff. So they were dismissive of maybe second opinions that the patient had gotten from other doctors, legit doctors, that might have maybe introduced additional information and could have helped them maybe diagnose better or improve the treatment or things like that. So
some doctors, at least in Romania, react horrible to the idea of the second opinion. I mean, I know a lot of doctors who, if the patient goes to them and says, look, I had this recommendation that it's slightly different or adds something, and what they will get is not an explanation. Either, look, I don't understand why they said that, and I'm sorry, I cannot tell you more because look, these are the reasons why I believe what I believe. Or yes, there is also that option. I honestly believe what I said is the better option, but indeed, we could also do that. But a lot of doctors will just be like,
well, if you don't trust me and you went to some other guy, just go to that guy now.
And kindergarten level of reaction. We also have the problem of medical professionals who think that just because they are very good in their field, that they actually studied really, really well for years on end, this just means that by magic they must also be, really good in other areas of the medical profession.
And also history and politics.
And basically anything else that they did not study anything about since they were at university, or, in case of politics or history, never. And this leads many times to really cringe conversations. Like, I have a really silly example that also I think it's silly and unimportant, but very telling for what I mean. Because at work we have food delivery, and I try hard to order as much plant-based options as I can. since I find that they're harder to do at home,
Okay.
And a colleague of mine sees, my salad and I'm trying really hard not to do a right in front of my salad joke.
Why not?
So my salad, which was made up of beans, chickpeas, salad leaves, corn, and mozzarella. And that tells me in a quite, condescending way, because I actually liked that salad and I got it a lot of times, and he saw me other times too. So, in this tone.
But wouldn't it be good to have also some protein in your salad?
And I was like, well, whatever do you mean, Almost everything in this bowl has protein. And he looked at me, very skeptical and, with that facial expression that just said, oh, this poor silly girl, And it was so, what? Of course, there are also, worse issues than some dude not realizing that beans and chickpeas and mozzarella have proteins.
It's only meat and cum that have protein.
Absolutely, always.
From what I understand.
Yeah. Some medical professionals are themselves incapable to tell fact from fiction in some cases. And just look how many actual doctors believe in homeopathy, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, medical school puts a lot of emphasis on our ability to remember things and to recognize the things that we were taught when we see them, But at least in Romania, there is not enough attention being paid to biostatistics, to biochemistry, and sometimes even to basic physiology. So most of us don't really understand what, the rest of the problems are built upon. So it's very easy at some point to be like, and here is magic. I was never like top of my class or something. But what struck me really hard during 2020 and 2021, due to the pandemic and the existence of social media, I could read the posts of some of my former colleagues who were much better students than I was, like the people that were like top 5 of my year, who are saying things that were just insanely not true. One that stuck in my mind was this idea that I saw shared that since we can we know that the coronavirus is sensitive to heat, we could put hair dryers up our noses when we come back from home, from wherever, and we will sterilize our nose.
I feel like many nostrils have been fried during these past 2 years.
Yeah, and also the fact that, of course, obviously you can burn yourself, especially up your nose, but also to think that a virus comes into your nose through your nostrils and then
creepy crawly,
and then stays there and waits for you to get home and get your hair dryer and like, what the fuck,
Well, yeah, because they crawl into your nose and they're like, well, phew, that was a lot of effort. Now I think we just need to take a coffee break and maybe chill for a while and then, move along.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the practical aspects of scientific thinking. Obviously, one of the original sins is the nature of our educational system, which is in dire need of an update. But more importantly, I would argue it needs to work on making students less fearful of not having the right answer, followed by constructive feedback, which helps you identify mistakes and correct them. Because as things stand at the moment, many resort to, as you said, rote learning. So, and many others just, give up on the idea of using, education, not just as the usual, education solves everything, but no, like it can actually help you acquire skills that can help you grow as a human being, so to speak, not just, it's good to get a job and things like that. No, it's good to, better understand the world around you. So we have a problem with many people who try to memorize and reproduce information rather than engage with it in any way. And many of them do this because they fear being ridiculed for getting things wrong, or they feel ashamed for even like requiring additional information from, their teacher, their tutor, their whoever.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Something that is very recognizable in Romania, even with adults, professionals at conferences, is that almost nobody asks questions of the speaker. And if you respectfully disagree with the speaker and you ask something, it is seen as you trying to stir up trouble rather than trying to have a constructive dialogue. A lot of people regress to like primary school level if they are asked questions by the speakers. Like somebody is like, did this happen to you in your practice? Like, can you recognize this issue? And then they just behave like kids that try to hide under their school table, you know? Like, nobody engages in that conversation. One of my first experiences of how things can be different were at my first international nutrition course held by ESPAN. ESPAN is the European Society of Enteral and Parenteral Nutrition. And the speaker asked us what we think about the use of glutamine for cancer patients anyway. And I had an opinion. And there was another guy there, also a doctor, that he had a different opinion than me. And I had a counter argument to what he said, and then he had a counter argument. And so it went like we were both given microphones, and basically we had a one-on-one conversation. That it was somewhere around 10 minutes-ish, let's say. And actually it was useful and fun because like people in the conference room were having fun with it too. They were looking to see if we would just end up listing like all the arguments. And myself and that colleague that I had a disagreement with, you know, later that week, because it was a week-long course, we went out for drinks and we were actually very eager to talk to each other, and we enjoyed each other's presence. It wasn't like, you didn't agree with me. Oh, you know?
And now I will put a curse upon your family for several generations because you personally attacked me.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of the times, if you do that in Romania, there's a huge chance that people would just say that, you know, you're a busybody, that you just think you're too smart, or, you know, like shit like that.
Yeah. There was another interesting thing you told me about, and this is perhaps a tad weird for those who might be from, I don't know, Western Europe or America, but large chunks of the internet are still very sort of sparsely populated for those who aren't proficient in, you know, any of the widely used languages like English, French, German, I'm assuming Mandarin or Japanese. And this is very much the case with specialized content such as medical information, because it's not like most random Joe Schmo medical doctor keeps a regularly updated blog with their notes on, I don't know, the latest scientific publication that he reviewed and things like that. Many countries such as ours, if you're lucky, then you might have like a major hospital or clinic producing some dedicated pages on their official website for certain frequently asked questions or some basic information on medical terms, but it's usually a static page that doesn't get updated, and patients won't be able to interact in any way and, you know, maybe ask questions or things like that. And so there's a lot of empty online space that can be filled by shady actors.
Last year, I decided to build an online presence for myself.
Is this the place where we can plug your stuff?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if anybody is interested in cancer nutrition, I am Irina Mateies, and that's my blog, also my YouTube channel, also my Instagram, also my Facebook page. So
yeah, I will put the links in the description. For the moment, you're only providing material in Romanian, right?
Yes. I mean, that's the point, to provide material in Romanian. So I decided to, you know, build an online presence for myself. And first of all, it was quite hard because I am a somewhat older generation, being 42 this year. You know, I did not have internet access for a long time in my life. And my first personal computer was when I turned 24. Anyway, I started this and discovered some people that were giving advice about how to grow and attract your audience, like what you should look for, how to write content that people actually want to read or listen to. And of course, I found out about this thing called the SEO, you know, the search engine optimization, and about keywords and such. And the problem I ran into was that when I looked up keywords that had tons of search value in English, I realized that like nobody was looking for them in Romanian. And it has been very hard to discover what people want to read when it comes to something as specialized as my online work, you know, cancer nutrition. Because most things that have tons of reach are utter garbage, like detox cures and boosting your immunity and, shit like that.
Beetroot juice.
Beetroot juice, yeah. And weirdly, not even beetroot juice, even if it's one of the most used things, I realized by asking my patients that mostly they hear about it from other people, they don't read about it. So I realized that us in Romania have the problem that people don't even know what they should be looking for, let alone the problem of not having good content on those subjects.
Or the attention span to actually
Yes.
go through the content.
Yeah, sure, because that was another thing I noticed, that people who actually look for certain subject don't have the patience for a 5-minute video to actually hear what they were actually looking for. And I find very amusing that sometimes, let's say you have a video that has the title, what can I eat if I have a colostomy bag? And in the comments, somebody will be like, and what can I eat if I... And I'm like, click on the video. And I've noticed this time and time again that some people come to an article of mine and they don't read it and they're just like, but is it true that la la la? And I'm like, can't you first read and see if you get your answer? So yeah, I think we have huge problem understanding information, for understanding what kind of basic information we should all have in order for our lives to be better and to have less chance of us hurting ourselves and less chance of somebody stealing our money.
So do you have any thoughts on what could be done to improve the quality and availability of better medical information for non-English speakers, like both online and in real life? Or should we just wrap this up and leave it as a scream of frustration into the void kind of episode?
We can definitely, have both. Obviously, there is a lot of change that needs to actually happen in the school years, when you are in school, in high school and at university.
Both for patients and doctors.
Exactly. For everybody. I don't feel comfortable talking about non-English speakers because I have no idea if this is also a problem in Poland or Hungary. Or, for example, I know for sure that in Russian, because you also said major speaking languages, in Russian there is a lot of content. One of my colleagues at work who speaks Russian, she's a psychologist, and she tells me they have great content, online.
Okay.
So we are talking about Romania here because we know for sure it's an us problem. Maybe it's some other people problem, but it's definitely an us problem. Okay. So I hope more genuine medical professionals will be up for putting their face in the public sphere, because so far only grifters and fucking insane people were doing this. If you start just coming up on TV, it's seen as like you're not doing your job, you're just looking for fame. To have a blog or a YouTube channel is definitely something very fringe in Romania. A lot of other people will just look at you like, either you're not very good at your job if this is what you're doing with your free time. It's not seen as a good thing.
Or respectable
A respectable thing, yeah. Because when I started my blog and YouTube channel, I realized I will not find somebody else who does what I do on the exact same subject. But I was like, okay, so let's see other people who do this in other subjects that are successful and they are actually very good, also content-wise. And I didn't find many, but I did find one doctor, an endocrinologist, and she was doing great. She also started during the pandemics, but she got a lot of followers, she had a lot of content, she was posting consistently, like she was doing it really well. And I was talking with another friend of mine, and she told me, like, why don't you write to her? Just write to her, tell her you like what she's doing and if she wants to talk to you. And I was like, that sounds a little weird.
Awkward.
But it's not like I was going to ask to send her a dick pic or something. So I just wrote her an email and told her, hello, I'm also a doctor. I also am starting to do what you're doing, and I think you're doing it really, really well. And if you ever would like to speak with me, let me know. And she actually replied, and she was ecstatic. And she was like, oh, you're the first person that is also a medical professional who complimented me on this. Like, you're the first feedback I got that is not a patient.
You're the first person who isn't a hater.
No, but like she only got the feedback from patients.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else that was doctor that was complimenting her from that perspective, not the perspective of being a patient and looking for information. You know, for somebody who was like, oh, you're doing a really good job of, doing this. So I think more exposure and more, willingness from nurses, doctors to put themselves in the public eye.
Let's conclude this episode with the usual share, like, and subscribe, as they say.
Of course.
And don't fall for silly shit on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Take care and bye.
Bye.